Good morning, everyone. Wow, what a morning. I wake up, I go into the living room, and there is stuff everywhere. I mean, like cat toys everywhere. Um, we left out some leftovers last night because both my fiance and I fell asleep before we got a chance to put the leftovers away. Leftovers were all over the floor. Everything was everywhere. I don't know what those cats were doing, but they're in trouble. They're in timeout right now. So, and when I say timeout, that means that I try to tell them they can't sit in my lap, and then they come sit in my lap anyway. And I'm like, okay, your punishment's over. I can't with those cats. I love them so much, but they drive me crazy. Okay. So I want today to just be kind of a live general Q&A session. There's a couple things that I want to kind of go over with you real fast, and then the rest of the session will be up to you guys. If you have questions, put it in the live chat, and then I'll do my best to answer them. The first thing that I want to touch on is the Edgenuity project for this week, not the Sultanate one, the one that was assigned this week. I want you to turn that in next Wednesday. Next Wednesday will be the same day that your reading notes for this week will be due. I haven't posted those yet. I'll be posting those sometime between today and tomorrow. So with that said, you need those reading assignments to be able to do this week's Edgenuity project. So I want you to put that on hold. Don't do that Edgenuity project yet. I want you to do those readings first. So I'm going to make the readings for this week and the project for this week's Edgenuity stuff both due next Wednesday. And I know you guys are going to be submitting it late on Edgenuity, but I'm not going to count it as late. So don't worry about that. I know it'll say it's late, but it won't be. That's me telling you live. It will not be counted as late. Let's see, what else? Actually, I think that's it. I think that's all I had for you guys today as far as like giving you updates and stuff. Do any of you have any questions for me? Because if you do, feel free, plug them in the chat and I'll answer them. Crickets. Okay. Trying to think, how can we fill in our time today then? I don't want to just, let you go. But if you don't have questions, I don't want to hold you up either. I don't know. I spent so much time grading last night. I didn't plan a live session. But you know what? Let's go over more SAQ stuff. That's always worthwhile going over. And some of you that are joining live today may not have joined yesterday. So it'll be nice to kind of brush up a little bit. So as far as SAQs go, remember, SAQs comprise 20% of your overall WAP exam score. They're super important. And there are 3 SAQ questions you will answer. There's 4 available, but you only answer 3 of them. The first 2 are required. The second 2, you choose 1 out of the 2. So you answer 3 SAQ questions total. Now, each SAQ question has 3 parts. Some of them sometimes have 2, but this is on the rarer side. I would just kind of go along with the assumption that you are going to have 3 SAQ questions with 3 parts each. So that's 9 responses total. How much time do you have for those 9 responses? You have 40 minutes. 40 minutes total for those 9 responses. When you do the math, that roughly kind of comes to approximately 4.5 minutes per response. So make sure that by exam day, you have done extensive amounts of practice as far as timing yourself in that SAQ section. Make sure you do a lot of practice on your own. Remember, we're also going to have SAQ tests that I create that will be on Google Classroom, and I'm going to give you lots of practice as far as timing as well. But you do want to make sure that you're doing stuff on the side. You want to make sure you're practicing whenever you can, really, whenever you can muster up the energy after doing the rest of your work. There are 3 types of SAQ questions. The first type, in my opinion, is the hardest. The first type is the historiography SAQ question. Basically, what it shakes down to for the historiography SAQ is they give you a passage from a historian. It could be a famous historian. It could be an obscure historian that you've never heard of before. Most of these questions will have passages that come from like 1980, between the 1980s and the 1990s. And historians will be writing about events that happened in the past that we will have learned about throughout the year. Your job in the historiography question is to provide evidence that either supports the historian's argument or invalidates the historian's argument. Usually it's more on like the support side. So you'll be asked, explain one piece of evidence that supports so-and-so's argument. And then you kind of you use your knowledge of history to come up with a key term or a person or an event that you can discuss that adequately supports the historian's argument. This is the hardest type of SAQ. And I wanted to kind of touch on that one first because it is the hardest. And we're going to have practice with those. The second type of SAQ is the stimulus-based SAQ. The stimulus-based SAQ is somewhat similar to the historiography SAQ, but it is also different. It's similar in the respect that you are either going to get like a passage from a document, or you might get a map, or you might get an image, a photograph, anything like that. But the big difference between the stimulus-based question and the historiography question is the stimulus-based question will give you a passage or image or photograph, whatever it might be, from that actual time period. It's 99% of the time it's going to be a primary source. And your job in the stimulus-based question is to interact only with that primary source. You might like give a piece of evidence to, support whatever the author of the passage was trying to say. Or you might explain something completely external where you have to explain, like, let's say you have a painting, the painting of Jean-Paul Marat. I mentioned that weeks ago, where he was stabbed to death during the French Revolution, and there's a painting that was constructed that embodied that event. Now, if let's say that is the photograph, or I'm sorry, the painting you're given for your SAQ, you might get a question like, explain one of the causes leading up to this event. So not only do you have to know what the event is, you have to be able to explain the causes leading up to it. So that might be like one type of response for that sort of SAQ. I hope you guys can see the difference, where in the historiography SAQ, you get a passage written by a historian much later than the event happened. And then with the stimulus-based SAQ, you will receive a passage or source that is a primary source that comes from that time period. I hope that it's easy to tell the difference between the two. Actually, if you guys could just kind of in the live chat, just let me know if that makes sense, how the historiography SAQ and how a stimulus-based SAQ are different. Just like if you get it, like put like a thumbs up or like a yes or just something to let me know that it makes sense. Okay, cool. Thank you, Lana. I appreciate it. Cool. All right. If you guys need any more explanation about those two SAQs, or if you run in to an SAQ that you're not really able to identify it as either historiography or stimulus-based, let me know and I'll help you work through that. The last type of SAQ that you will be exposed to throughout the school year is the knowledge of history SAQ. Personally, I think they're the easiest because you don't have to analyze a document. You don't have to analyze any kind of stimulus or passage. You are just asked questions. An example of a knowledge of history SAQ question, explain, and this is very, very elementary, like explain the causes of World War I. That is that's, you have to know it. right? You're not given a photograph, you're not given a map, you're not given any of that stuff. You're just asked, explain the causes of World War I. Well, I'm going to teach you guys an acronym later, later this year called MANIA: militarism, alliances, nationalism, imperialism, and the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand. That's an acronym to help you remember the causes of World War I. So what you want to do to best prepare for those knowledge of history questions is hang tight for 1 second. I want to grab the book. Hold on. To best prepare for the knowledge of history SAQ, get this book. This book is gold, okay? I know a couple of you have gotten it already. It's not everything. It doesn't really have like a lot of practice questions or anything like that in it, but it has basically it acknowledges every single AP World Key concept, and it's going to give you those quick facts that you need to know for those knowledge of history SAQs. So get this book. It's like, let's see, it says $15, but it's like $11 on Amazon. I got it for $8 at Barnes and Noble with my teacher discount. I think they give student discounts too. Check into that. But get this book to prepare for those knowledge of history SAQs. We have a question. Dayanara says, how do we use the ACE method with an image only? Okay, good question. So if you, let's go with that same painting, the Jean-Paul Marat painting, right? What you want to do is when you're answering those questions, like let's say the question is explain the causes that led up to this historical moment. Then what you want to do is you want to give your answer. You say, well, the causes leading up to the historical moment was depreciation in wages in France, the agricultural decline of France, and corruption in the royal family all led up to the events of this painting. And then you kind of discuss what's going on in the painting. So you're referencing back to the source that you were given. Now, for an image, that's a little tricky because you can't like paraphrase any words from an image, right? So what you do is you explain what's going on in the painting, and then you elaborate more and you explain how that connects back to your answer. Dayanara, does that make sense? Does that answer your question? If it does, just put yes. Or if it doesn't, no. Okay. All right. I don't see any answers, but I'm going to safely assume that I answered your question. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Dayanara. All right. I do want to kind of air out some of my own personal frustrations and frustrations that I think you guys all might be experiencing as well. Yes, you do have to do that in 4.5 minutes. And I know right now you might not be good at that yet, and that's okay. We're going to have tons and tons and tons of practice throughout the school year. I'm in the process, finally, I've caught up with all my grading. I'm in the process of grading those SAQ pre-assessments that I assigned last week. So I want to get those back to you so that you can kind of have like a basic understanding of how grading SAQs is broken down. But as far as being frustrated, I'm frustrated by the fact that so early on, Edgenuity is throwing these extremely complex and elevated level SAQs at you, because at this point in the school year, I would be kind of helping you guys get your feet wet and getting used to that ACE method process before throwing you into those hardcore SAQ questions. So with that said, guys, I don't want you panicking about those, okay? Edgenuity, I want you to just kind of consider it an online practice workbook. I'm not going to grade Edgenuity stuff insanely hardcore. I'm not, because how can I fairly assess a super high level SAQ when you guys have just barely been exposed to the process of doing them? So don't worry, I'm not going to like grade roughly on those SAQs on Edgenuity right now, because I think that they're too complex to accurately assess this so early on in the school year. It says, is it okay that Edgenuity SAQs aren't in the right format yet? Yeah, that's fine. What I want you to do, like I said, I want you to practice using the format, but if it's not perfect, it's not perfect. It's not going to be perfect right now. So don't stress too much about those SAQs. If you have questions about them, then hit me up and I will try to go through it like individually, like one-on-one with you. So hang tight with that. Oh, are the reading notes for week 2 posted to Google Classroom? Because I didn't see it. Not yet. So like I said earlier, they'll be posted between today and tomorrow. And I'll make sure those are posted. You'll be good to go. And also to add on to that, to those of you who weren't here when we started, the project for this week's Edgenuity project is not going to be due till next Wednesday. I'm going to hold off on that because it does require you to do those week 2 readings first. So keep that in mind. All right. Are there any other questions at this juncture? So we've gone over the structure of SAQs. We've gone over types of SAQs. Let's see. How long do we spend actually reading or analyzing the prompt? Nicole, that's a really good question. I would say like maybe a minute to fully look at the prompt and really break it down. So that way you're not cutting too much into your time for your analysis, because that's the most important part. But I'll teach you guys how to break down the prompts. The easiest thing to do when you first get your SAQ prompts is to quickly go through and label them by type, by historiography, stimulus-based, or knowledge of history. And then think about, well, which one is going to be easiest for me, which topics are easiest for me, and create that plan of action. I would say maybe like a minute or 2 at most. Just you have to learn how to do that quickly. But for like my SAQ test that we start off with, I'm not going to throw you in that hardcore like this month. Like as we get into October, November, December, yeah, it's going to be, more official. But until then, we're kind of in practice mode. We have to be so that we can really hone our skills. Let's see. Dianara says, my only problem is understanding the paragraphs and articles that they give us as resources. Okay, Dianara, I'm really glad you mentioned that. And this is another one of my frustrations, that I'm not the one physically teaching you guys like in a classroom. But Dianara, I am going to teach you guys a way of very quickly breaking down a document and breaking down a passage so that you can easily understand it. And we're going to work on that. And the acronym for it is called HIPPY, which I kind of came up with. It's sort of funny, but actually, that's going to be the basis for Thunderbolt video number 3. So I'm going to go over that, and I think that'll be really helpful when it comes to breaking down the passages for SAQs and breaking down what the question is asking. Okay, the reading notes are the notes for the 3 articles you posted, right? Yes. So I have the reading notes from last week posted, but the new ones for this week are not posted yet. That'll happen between today and tomorrow. Okay. All right, I think I answered everybody's questions. Let's see. All right. Oh, you're very welcome. Absolutely. Please keep asking questions. These are all excellent questions, so keep asking them. And don't be shy. Like if you have a question, likelihood is like a bunch of other people have that same question. So don't be shy about it. All right. So let me see. Let me see if I could think of anything else I want to relay to you about essay. Oh, for the week 1 reading notes, was there an assignment link? Oh, I will create that as soon as the live stream is over. So as soon as the live stream's over, as soon as I end it, I will go straight onto Google Classroom and I'll create that link. Because remember, those week 1 reading notes are due tonight by 11:59. And I know that the whole due date thing is kind of, that's the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about. The due date thing's kind of wonky, but reading notes, I kind of want you guys to stay on track so you don't fall behind. So the other thing I had wanted to mention at the beginning of the live stream, Edgenuity work. Listen, I know that a lot of you are from Santiago or are from ERHS, and you're very much used to block schedule. And you're not used to having all of your classes every single day, especially not this much work for every single class every single day. So I've come up with a way around that. So technically on Edgenuity, even if you're late on an assignment, you can still do it. It might like say, oh, sorry, it's late, like you're gonna get marked down. But my new thing for Edgenuity, guys, is as long as you get everything for a given week done within that week, I'm a happy camper. And I'm doing that because I know that college level classes especially require a great deal of time, work, and commitment. But when you get to the college level, you're not like, let's say you take US history at the college level, you're not going to have US history Monday through Friday. College level classes meet 2, maybe 3 times a week, and that's rare. But most college courses are 2 days a week. So I figure it would make it a little easier on you guys to be able to balance out your other stuff. If, like, let's say you're in periods 1 through 5, then do your work for my class on Mondays and Wednesdays, and whatever you don't get done on Mondays and Wednesdays, you finish up on Friday, right? If you have my class for 2nd, 4th, or 6th period, then work on my class Tuesdays, Thursdays, and whatever you don't finish those 2 days, do it Friday. So that way you're kind of still in that block schedule format. Dianara says, so the late work in a week is only for Edgenuity? No, it's for Google Classroom too, but the reading assignments, I really want you guys to try and stay on target. Now, if it's like 1 or 2 days, then I won't mark it down. But if it's past that, like if your Google Classroom stuff is like a full week late, then yeah, I'm going to have to mark it down a little bit. And that's because reading assignments, Dianara, are the most important assignments that you'll be doing this year. It's those reading assignments that will give you the content knowledge that you need in order to adequately answer those SAQs, LEQs, and those DBQ questions. I'll be helping you guys along the way, like kind of make sense of all that content. But at the end of the day, a lot of the content knowledge is going to be on you guys. But as far as teaching the skills, like teaching you guys how to write, that's totally and 100% on me. But getting those reading assignments done on time will be super helpful when you're learning how to develop your writing skills. You have to read well in order to write well. So that's why I really want to emphasize that. I hope that makes sense, Dianara. Yeah, my living room's fine. Like when I said my cats destroyed it, I just meant they were like running around all throughout the night and just knocking stuff over. They broke one of my glass vases, which I'm so sad about because it's so pretty, but that's okay. You can replace a glass vase, but you can't replace your rockabye kitty, right? But it's all good. Okay, any questions at this point about SAQs or about my new policy of allowing late work on Edgenuity or anything else? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream so that you guys can go back to work. But if you need anything throughout the day, I'll be here. Any questions that you might have, I will ideally have answers. All right, you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye.